Hello and welcome to the Fintech Finance Virtual Arena. And today we're going to be talking all about FPGAs and obviously their difference when it comes to ASICs and all the technological advancements that come from that. So joining me today, we have Andrew Tennant, James Beeken, and Thomas Scheibe. So guys, I'm going to go around and ask you if you can do an introduction to yourselves, just for our audience to get to know you a bit better and understand why we've brought you on today's panel. So to kick things off, Andrew, could I come to you first, please? Could you give us a bit of background to your role?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm a sales leader here at Cisco. I've been here about 20 years, and I lead the global team for selling our ultra-low latency solutions.
Absolutely brilliant. And James, could I also get you to ring in, please?
Yeah, sure, Doug, thanks. I'm part of Andrew's team, so I'm responsible for all the sales and business development in the Europe, Middle East, Africa region, and I was formerly part of the XBlaze organization, which are the architects and developers of the platform, and was acquired by Cisco, moved across with it into Andrew's team.
Absolutely brilliant. And lastly, we've got Thomas Scheibe. Thomas, thank you so much for joining. Could you also give us a bit of background to yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm running the data center networking product management organization. And I was actually, since Exablaze was mentioned, I was actually pretty much striving to make sure we bring Exablaze into Cisco. And, really, really excited about all the opportunities. But I'm pretty sure we're going to go into that in more detail.
Well, absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining. So I guess really to kick this session off, I think it's very important to kind of get that level of understanding. So for our viewers that might not be aware, Thomas, if I could come to you, what are the Field Programmable Gate Arrays and why choose FPGA versus ASIC as your core design principle?
Yeah, good point. And so, as you pointed out, FPGA, what most people, use the acronym Field Programmable Gate Arrays. What is really interesting, they're in the middle between what people know as an ASIC and a CPU or a general purpose processor. And so in my mind, they're really combining the best of both worlds, whereas on one end you have complete reprogrammability, complete customization in a processor and a CPU. And on the other end, you have high performance, but highly customized, and you can't program and reprogram. Right? You do it once, it's done, and that's it. So the FPGA is getting you both of these things in one, right? You get the reprogrammability, you get the customization, but you also get the performance and the latency. So that's the easiest way, at least for me, to think about what an FPGA delivers.
That's absolutely brilliant. And James, if I could come to you, what are really the advantages that choosing an FPGA would present itself over an ASIC?
So within the world that we operate our products in, this ultra low latency space in the financial markets and markets broader than that, what is of paramount importance to us is that we can continually develop and grow the product line to bring the features and the future opportunities to our customer base. If we were to have selected ASIC as the core element to our products on that basis, we'd have had to have fixed our design, and that would have dictated the growth and path of the product. With the FPGA at the heart of all of the Exablaze products, that's the switches, the NICs, and the future development products that we've got a fully programmable platform, which essentially means our product is forever evolving. So our clients can come to us and ask us to add features and functionality. They can ask us to improve features on it, and we're able to develop that code and download those new images to our customers all the time. So it makes sure that not only can we develop ultra low latency platforms, but we can keep those platforms right at the forefront of the market, at the same time serving the needs of our bespoke client requests.
That's absolutely brilliant. And I mean, it almost sounds just too good to be true. It's so groundbreaking. So with that in mind then, Andrew, I've got to ask, how does it work? How are you able to program them after manufacturing? And I'd like to hear from your perspective, what are some of the benefits that can then bring to the customer?
Yeah, certainly. So you think about it as described, right? I like to think of it as ASICs are great for building a platform whose specs we know, problem solving for things that are kind of already characterized. Whereas an FPGA can actually solve problems that don't exist yet, right? So we can put something out there with a capability and that problem can emerge post-deployment. And the code itself is nothing more than firmware, right? So the firmware actually essentially programs, but actually lays out a mechanical, physical, electrical circuit on the FPGA after the fact. That's how you get that hardware performance. And that can be done both by our own engineering, intellectual property and engineering team internally. But the real hope is to expand this to other folks that have terrific skills and ideas in terms of solving their own problems. But both end customers as well as even consultancies who have that expertise in-house, and they want to bring that skill set to bear on a platform. Think of it more like think of it as a blank canvas in some ways, right? In that regard, with a physical capability that's predefined, but functionality that's undefined.
That's absolutely incredible. And James, could I also get you to ring into that bespoke action as well, please?
What we've done is created a product environment that allows our client community and our partner community to be able to take the platform and enhance it, develop it even further with their own bespoke ideas. To allow them to do that, we've created a utility tool, a firmware development kit. So you can take the base platform, whether it be a NIC, whether it be a switch. You can take the FPGA that we have deployed within that hardware build and the code that we've put on it to give it its functionality, which is, very much focused on this world of ultra low latency communication and trading. And you can now let your own minds run free as to, if I could add this application, if I could add a market gateway, if I could add a risk analysis package within this environment as well, how that tool could really become a bespoke utility, a unique application for my business. So we've got the ability to give our clients that capability. So as long as they've got the in-house skill set to do that. But probably more importantly, we've got a whole community of partner resellers out there who can see the opportunity created by such a platform for them to be able to go and develop their products and lay it on the top of our platforms. So what we're trying to do is develop and grow this community environment on our hardware platform, our FPGAs, our basic principle of core functionality that we've put in there, and allow them to grow it, develop it, drive it in the direction that befits their business.
That sounds absolutely incredible. Now, Thomas, I want to come to you as well. We've kind of touched on it just then from James and Andrew, but obviously there are a lot of very talented people when it comes to the tech scene. So, I mean, what could this effectively do, having that bespoke programming? And really, how's that going to work going forward into the future? And what can it afford the tech industry, more importantly, the finance industry?
Well, it really provides our customers a flexibility and choice that they didn't have, right? Coming back to this, what are these different options? How we can implement these algorithms that we want? And there are different criteria what a financial customer are looking at, right? There's the CPU model, that's the ASIC model, that's the FPGA in the middle, and it's really the combination of both and then the FPGA is what really gives our customer that additional choice around not making the trade-off that they have today, right? It's literally the low latency with the performance, as well as the time to implementation, right? Because it's really now in their hand to put their algorithms in. One of the items that always comes up is like, if it's an ASIC, I need to tell ASIC I need to tell Cisco what the algorithm is. Whereas with an FPGA, you can implement your custom algorithm right there, and you can drive your differentiation as a customer the way you want it. And so what the FPGA model really gives them is that flexibility and that choice to optimize around the application goals that our customers have. And so clearly you can see in the financial industry, there's a lot of different things, whether it's on the trading side, whether it's on the exchange side, whether it's on some of the time stamping, synchronization aspect of the application. There's a whole range of things that you can do now, and quite frankly, at the customer's speed and leisure, so to say. just using the platform, right? And the beauty that we have, and we alluded to, is we're not having it just as a switch. We also have that option on the NIC. So you actually really have an end-to-end model you can build where you can actually optimize your performance end-to-end from the host to the host with the network in the middle. And so you have all the building blocks there. So it's truly, the way I look at it, it's truly providing a very, very powerful tool for our customers to actually optimize the way they want it instead of relying on their vendors to do it for them.
That's incredible. And Andrew, could I also get your perspective as well, please, on what really, what FPGAs can bring to trading firms, as Thomas kind of alluded to just then?
Yeah. So again, if you look at it, for fintech, especially for trading firms, latency and ultra low latency was the pursuit, right? So that was sort of the main driver of innovation, and FPGAs have served that purpose quite well. But really, what's interesting is we plan to replicate this across other industries as well. In other words, take media or AI ML or other areas, 5G. They may have another specific design criteria they're trying to achieve, and we can use the same flexible technology to go after that very different, totally different primary goal, for example. So I look at it as every industry has a drawer of hard problems to solve, right? We can solve easy problems. Thomas runs a $5 billion line of business for Cisco with ASICs, both really custom ASICs that we have, and they work quite well for solving problems that are known. But it's those bespoke problems, those unique problems that we tend to solve for every industry out there ultimately. But back to fintech, it's definitely the name of the game is ultra low latency. When you can bring together that end-to-end value prop, it's very unique to what we can do here at Cisco.
Interesting. Now, James, I'm really interested that this seems completely revolutionary to be able to offer up this type of service, especially compared to some other ASICs. So, I mean, what was the cost benefit trade-off before between FPGAs and ASICs, and why is that different now?
We have chosen the path of FPGA because we have a very targeted solution and customer base that we're pushing this platform into. Right, so we've built a range of products from NICs to switches, and we've got a recently newly launched product at the beginning of this year, Triton, which is now going to focus into that layer 3 area of the network. We are not out there producing the switches in sort of tens and hundreds of thousands, which is where the benefit of the ASIC platform comes from. We're producing a very specialized, very targeted switch that has to stay at that forefront of evolution. And only with FPGA are we able to stay at the forefront. So we don't have that huge upfront cost and development time for creating the ASIC image. Which means that you have to make these things in volume in order to get a return on your investment. We've chosen the FPGA, which means we can launch a product very quickly and we can constantly evolve and develop that product. And it also, it brings to the market the opportunity for us to create a platform. And in its current incarnation, we've taken that platform and we've pointed it at in terms of our new product, the layer 3 world. So we call it a layer 3 switch. It's not really a switch, it's an application, it's a layer 3 application. But actually we can take that basic premise and we can start to tune it in whichever direction we want to take the product. We often, we talk about the financial markets because that's our sweet spot, but we absolutely want to bring this type of benefit into the other markets as well. It has very good application. Andrew's mentioned a few of them. 5G, military is a good one. Medical is a good one. Any industry that we can see that there is a drive towards latency, and that is becoming more and more important across many industries now. So a drive towards latency and a drive towards this flexibility. Then this product will absolutely play in because it's early to market and it continually evolves, develops, grows, and can grow in the direction that is very specific, bespoke, not only to the industry, but to the individual client as well.
Incredible. Now, Thomas, then, with that in mind, I know I've already come to you before asking about what it can mean for the finance industry, but as we've heard from the two guys here as well, that this technology has so much wider application. So, I mean, with that in mind, what innovations are on the cards as a result of developing an FPGA-based appliance for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we James and Andrew touched a little bit on it. Clearly, I mean, there's certain what we call implementation or application that we started with and we have in mind, right? So that's for the financial world, which as James pointed out, we released earlier this year a product called the Nexus 3550T or Triton, really focused on that ultra fast layer 3 subset of capabilities that our customers want. And we're talking about setting another world record. We used to have the one I called the world record with an older Cisco switch, which was like 200 nanoseconds. So we're setting a new world record with this FPGA-based implementation, which in itself is very, very amazing. But now you can think about, I can have other profiles, other applications running on that FPGA, right? And so a couple of things we mentioned, right? There's things around timestamping, there are things around packet broker functions that we can do, and that can just lend itself either to the financial world as well as to some of these other industries or verticals. The power I really see is what comes here is, right, we can develop those as well as our customers can develop those. What it gets is a way to faster prototype applications that our customers want, instead of either waiting for a vendor or waiting for an ASIC to actually implement this. And so it's that time to market, that faster turnaround to try something out and get something done. That is really where the power of this FPGA-based solution is. And it is quite high performance, right? If you compare to what a typical ASIC does today from a pure performance, packet performance or processing performance, it is actually very, very attractive for that, what we call top of rack server access space, because the performance itself, the base, the canvas, as Andrew pointed out, is actually, it's very high performance to start with, and then you can program on top. And so the sky is open. I mean, the sky is the limit. The sky is open on this one. I mean, whatever term you want to use there. We have some ideas. As I said, we started off with a networking layer 3 application. There are certain things we want to do around this was timestamping and packet broker functionality. But I can tell you, I mean, the discussions we're having with different customers and different verticals, there are a lot of ideas floating around what you could do now. And really, the way we think about it is the twofold. One is we can bring certain personalities to market, but we also expose it to the FDK so our customers actually can take this and run with it. Pun intended.
Well, I think that's one of the most exciting parts from what you guys have been discussing. We've talked about how it's kind of going to future-proof a lot of organizations going on into the future, and that's one of the successes of the FPGAs. But an organization, as you guys have kind of just alluded to there, Tom, it's like you don't own all the good ideas when it comes to all these innovative technologies, and you can't do that across every industry around the world. So, Andrew, if I could come to you, can you tell me a bit more about this community of developers that could come out of this, please?
Yeah, and you hit on it, right? It really is some humility there that we don't believe we're the holders of all the good ideas. We appreciate and really welcome that inspiration and innovation that comes from those 3 and 4 person firms out there who have incredibly intelligent folks working on hard problems, and they need someone to partner with to bring this to market. It's interesting. I mean, if you show the 3550T, that codenamed Triton product, to our friends in security at Cisco, we're the largest security company in terms of network security, they look at it and say, oh, that's a 48-port firewall with a massive FPGA, and I can do some amazing things with it, right? That's where, so part of it's exposing groups to this technology in a way that they can look at it with a fresh set of eyes and really see it in a new light. And then all of the tooling around that, we've spoken a number of times about the firmware development kit or the FDK. That really is what unlocks that potential, right? It really is what sets that home. It's the ability to lay down their own custom application. And if you think of it in just those simple terms, your ability to manipulate traffic at wire rate at a hardware level it's extraordinarily powerful. And the last thing I'd say is that from an FPGA standpoint, the programmability is very, very important, but the reprogrammability is probably equally important, right? If you're going to deploy a fleet of anything in a technology that's evolving, say 5G, right, where that's an ever-evolving standard protocol, et cetera, if you can deploy this thing in the field in the tens of thousands of units, the ability to go back and now evolve the hardware as the technology and the protocols evolve, rather than, most of my time at Cisco, we spent a lot of time doing entire refreshes of major plants of hardware out there, right? That was good business, but frankly, those days are over, right? People and customers need a much better lifecycle management outlook than they once had before. So that's another key area where you can see the applicability is huge, that reprogrammability.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We've only just brought that up. Is really that kind of that cost benefit of really the fact that now you're not going to have to make huge investments and then be stuck with it. So James, could I actually get you to tag in on what Andrew was saying there at the end, and talk about maybe how the reprogrammability is going to have a massive cost benefit to not just the finance industry but other industries.
Also, I was thinking along another angle to the fact that Andrew spoke about. And one of the things we can do is obviously listen to our customer community out there. And if we have a common theme, a common request, a common problem that is being articulated to us by our clients, and that is getting a more and more regular occurrence these days, because we know these markets are absolutely being driven to the wire on latency, this race to zero, this absolute desire to be there, before the next person. And what we've been doing over the last 10 or 15 years is driving that latency out of the whole trading cycle, communication cycle, starting off. I think we've spoken before about shortening the network distances so we can make point-to-point latency shorter. Then we created co-location. Then we started putting in the same data centers as the stock exchanges. We've driven those huge, great lumps of latency out of it, but we're still searching for that golden nugget that is going to give our clients that next edge. So everything is just getting increasingly faster. We're down now into the single-digit nanoseconds, and we're timing in picoseconds. Yet we've still got to come up with the next idea. When these environments occur, it creates all sorts of downstream problems that have to be solved. And we're having those problems communicated to us. One of the biggest challenges that is facing all of the operators out there now is we've got to make the market fair. And fair 5 years ago was easy to achieve because as long as everything happened within sort of 5 or 10 milliseconds of each other, then we couldn't really check it at any greater level of granularity than that. So market was fair. However, today things are happening in sort of a very low number, handful of nanoseconds. All of a sudden, he was a nanosecond quicker than me. The market is no longer fair. So we've now got a new problem that says, okay, how can we turn this market into fair? Fortunately, we've got a programmable platform where we can say, okay, we've got the basic building blocks here of a product that we can build some new firmware in it, create a new angle to that product, and tackle this problem of fairness. All of a sudden, we've solved the next 2, 3, 5 years problem of that particular making. So it's those types that's us listening to the market, telling us what to do, and we could do it. Conversely, there are specialists out there as well that are looking at it from their different angles. It could be security, as Andrew said. It could be risk management. People looking at their own little nuggets of skill and expertise that they've identified a problem and they can work out a solution. We've given the platform to create the solution. That is the community that we will drive. We've created the platform. Now we want the community to take it, embrace it, take those ideas and develop the solutions for the market as they start to hit us.
That's absolutely brilliant. And creating what we've seen, especially in finance, is being able to have a platform means you're at the heart of the industry because you can offer up so many different services and also allow the customer to kind of create their own community and solve their own issues that you may not have thought of. So, I mean, with that in mind then, Thomas, to enable the client to make changes for themselves is groundbreaking. It's almost this kind of unusual hands-off approach that I think is really quite interesting to hear from a business. So, I mean, what will this ecosystem mean for your clients and even really, I mean, what's it going to do to the industry going forward?
Yeah, I mean, as I alluded a little bit earlier, I mean, really the way I think about it, this is like based on discussions with these financials, this is really an ideal tool for them to accelerate their time to market. And we use this term a lot, but it's really hard to do. And James alluded to some of these problems that are out there. It's really hard to do for some of these problems because we already have very high performance solution today. But if you need to do the next step, right, how do you accelerate that instead of making this years, getting this down to quarters and months to actually turn and improve and tune, right? That is really, for me, the speed and the agility to actually drive some of these implementation, that is what's the crucial piece for our customers. And that's really what's changing, right? The term normally is like multiple years, and now it's down to quarters and months, right? Because it's really in the hand of the customer to solve their problem, and nobody better than that, right? It's not Cisco pretending. It's the customer can solve it. We give them the tool. So it's that agility, flexibility, right? And these are terms we use a lot, but they're really, really important in this space. And so if you ask me what's the value, that's it, right? It's the speed that comes out of it and the enablement that we do with the FDK, so customers actually can really drive themselves instead of being driven. So
I think, I mean, James brought up the fact that we're not talking about just having to be quick on your feet, not being agile. This is at nanosecond level. So that level of accuracy and that being able to change that quickly is so critical to keep the market fair. Now, Andrew, could I also come to you, because I'm really interested in your perspective in this, this whole community side of things, but also what it's going to mean to the ecosystem for your clients and the industry as a whole, as Thomas already alluded to.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's we have a fairly substantial apparatus at Cisco called DevNet, right? So anyone who's done business with Cisco over the years understands the proliferation of DevNet, and that is unlocking the programmability, the APIs, the interoperability of all of our core products historically, right? But that muscle memory has given us tremendous acumen around facilitating this sort of developer mindset and this value-added third-party mindset, right? Really, again, that notion of humility that we're not going to be the only ones making cool innovations. I mean, I think about my iPhone, and as everyone knows, the iPhone originally there was no app store for the iPhone, right? The app store was an afterthought. But if you think about the proliferation of smartphones in general, be they Android or Apple, it's those third-party apps that completely dominate the equation, right? So Apple's role there is one that I aspire our role to be, right? Which is provide the platform and the incredible capabilities, and then the tools to unlock that potential and really, if you will, democratize access to that platform itself on behalf of those folks who have those incredible ideas. And there are people right now working on a PhD thesis who are going to get their hands on this thing and go, I have a big idea, right? And again, I've been here a long time, but I can absolutely see that, within a few years, something's going to hit really big in a big market, and it will be maybe even adjacent to fintech. But somebody's going to say, where did this come from? Well, so you remember that small acquisition we made, that company called Exablaze, in that narrow niche of high frequency trading and FPGAs? That's the core of what took place here. So the potential really is just absolutely unfettered.
That's absolutely brilliant. Well, guys, I think that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise. It's been absolutely fascinating, and I can't wait to hear about that brand new innovation that could just be around the corner. So thank you very much. And to all our viewers, thank you for watching. You can catch the rest of the series and much more over at www.fintechf.com and, of course, YouTube and LinkedIn. So I'll see you then, and goodbye.